Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you, regardless of which part of the world you are tuning in from. I'm so excited, grateful, and thankful to be here with you this morning. First of all, I would like to appreciate every single one of you who deem it fit to wait along as I was trying to fix out a couple of technical issues so that we can all have a better experience out here. So I'm sorry for keeping you waiting, but it's for our own benefit. So I'm excited once again to welcome you all to the last edition of our weekly Forex Morning Mastery, as we take a fresh new look into the market, and of course, considering the fact that today is the last trading day of the week, we are going to be seeing some peculiar pattern of trading activity, which evolves profit-taking activity. Of course, when it is the last trading day of the week, or the month, or the year, majority of key players in the market who have already taken advantage of a very significant move will definitely want to be closing in their position ahead of the weekend. So we are going to be reviewing considering this into our review for today, as there could be likelihood of a reversal in this momentum we've been seeing so far in the last couple of days. In fact, the US dollar has gained a little bit of traction during the last 24 hours, and that was as a result of some economic event from the UK and from the yen, from the Japanese, which wasn't that promising, and the dollar now become a safe haven for most of these instruments. So we are going to be looking at that in detail. So I've been able to conduct a very insightful analysis in preparation for today. So we are going to be using, as usual, our harnessing the power of trend lines, key level, and of course chart patterns to evaluate the financial market and gain valuable insight into the historical price movement of all the financial instruments that we have been monitoring since the beginning of the week. So on our watch list for the week, we have the USDJPY, the GBPUSD, XAUUSD, and of course the USOIL SPOT. So we are going to be delving into the details for today. And for those who are joining us for the first time, you are highly welcome on board. And let me let you know here that our purpose here is to come together as a community, gathering in anticipation of both the New York and the London trading session. And of course, during this time, we always review and manage our current position, while we also aim to position ourselves strategically for the day's trading session. So we do this on a daily basis, and one thing you would want to know is that we normally do our analysis on our execution time frame, which is the 1 hour time frame. So if you do want to have a background knowledge of how we got to the market structure or the patterns you will be seeing on the 1 hour time frame, then I implore that you watch my videos that I share during the course of the weekend, as this is always published in anticipation of the new week. I have the links in the description box of the current video, so you can take your time to watch it after the live session. And in fact, they are duly time-stamped, so you can easily navigate to whichever chapter of the video is of your interest. So once again, you are highly welcome on board. So with that being said here, let's dive right into the business for today. And as usual, the first thing we normally do is to check on the economic calendar, as these fundamental factors often manifest on the chart in technical patterns and price movement. And by monitoring the economic calendar, we can easily identify potential correlations between key economic releases and of course specific timing, which at the end of the day will help us in better timing ourselves in such a way that we can catch any potential trading opportunity ahead, during, or even after this event. So with that being said here, let's dive right into the business. So for today, 21st of July, hold on a second, So for today, July 21st rather, Friday being the last trading day of the week, we already have an event which happened from the UK economic docket, and that is the retail sales. And of course, the retail sales is the measure of the total receipt of the retail stores. So a monthly percentage change reflects the rate of change of sales, and this is considered as a very key indicator of the economy as it measures the consumer spending for a particular month. And majority in the market want to look at what the retail sales is to give us an idea into the economic situation of that country. And for the retail sales data that came in this morning, it was quite impressive indeed, as we had a previous data of 0.1%, and consensus economists were projecting a 0.2%, and what we found here is a 0.7%, which giving us a positive deviation of 1.02. That is quite massive, and of course this is a very positive indicator for the UK economy. So we are going to be looking at how the GBPUSD reacted to this event and how we are likely going to be positioning ourselves ahead of the trading sessions today. So besides this economic docket from the UK, we do not have any other high impact event. So we shall be diving right into the business. But before I do, I want us to note that majority of the participants are anticipating the big week, which is coming up next week, and that is the interest rate decision coming in from the US economy, which is one thing that majority in the market are looking forward to. Is there going to be a rate hike, or is there not going to be a rate hike? This is one debate that is going on in the market, and everyone in the market will really be anticipating it. But there is this general consensus that there is likelihood to be an interest rate hike, and this is why we have been seeing a lot of investment in the US dollar. So we are also going to be seeing the anticipation of this event reflect on the chart. And interest rate decision also coming in from the Japanese economy to next week. So it's going to be a very big week, and we are likely going to be seeing some anticipation of this event reflect on the chart today. So with that being said here, let's dive right into the business for today. So as usual, we are going to be diving into the first instrument for today, which of course is going to be the USOIL SPOT. Here we go. So on the USOIL SPOT, during the last couple of days right now, we have been witnessing a very, very choppy situation in this particular market, as the people are still not sure of where price action is likely going to be going. Though we have been witnessing some strong bullish momentum since the beginning of the week, which we of course took advantage of, but it appears that sellers are still trying to push price to the downside, and this could be as a result of different variety of economic events going across the financial environment. And one of them could be as a result of the decision by the US to try to ensure that the oil price is stable in the market by supplying the oil market. But how long will this be is what we don't know. But if we are going to be looking at things from a technical standpoint, we have been buying, of course. Remember, let's quickly run through how the week started for us on the USOIL SPOT. So at the beginning of the week, we initially confirmed that price action was on the bullish perspective here, and after connecting the series of higher lows in this particular market, we were able to identify an ascending trend line, which of course has been guiding and supporting this bullish momentum for the last couple of weeks now. And one interesting thing happened last week, which was very, let me say, important based on this current structure, and that is that demand zone identified at the 75 area. And one interesting thing we saw last week was how that zone became a very strong buying niche for participants in this market. So we saw that at the beginning of the week, we saw a breakout of that zone. And of course, since that moment, every attempt by the sellers to break down the zone has been met with strong resistance from the buyers. We saw the same thing happen midweek of last week, and during the last trading day of last week, we saw our price action again close just right above that area to further emphasize the strength of the buyers around that area. Well, at the beginning of the week, we were anticipating that we might likely see a reversal pattern that will incite another wave of bullish momentum, but of course we were wrong. As the new week started on a bearish note, we saw a bearish gap around here to incite the likelihood of selling the USOIL spot. And this led into a situation where price indeed broke down the demand zone and of course broke down the range we identified on the 1 hour time frame. So we had a range, we had an ascending trend line, and of course we had a demand zone, all which was broken to the downside, giving us a sign that we might likely be seeing a bearish move. And of course we took advantage of this opportunity as we sold the breakdown retest of the $74.50 level, giving us about price indeed moved about how many pips was that? Price moved about 80 pips in our favor on both occasions before we were taken out of that position. And if indeed you had moved your stop loss like we always preach in this community, you must have been taken out with a modest size of profit or at a worst case scenario break even. Now something interesting happened during the second trading day of the week, and despite the bearish expectations following the breakdown of all the structures I identified earlier, we begin to notice how sellers begin to struggle around the $73.75 level. Not only once, not only twice, but 3 or 4 times we saw how sellers' attempt to break through the structure was met with strong resistance from the buyers, and this was a red flag for us that we might likely be losing the selling momentum in this market, and we definitely want to be getting ready to buy the USOIL spot. So with the consistent rejection of the zone, as you can see here, we begin to anticipate the potential of a strong bullish momentum right here on Tuesday. And what we agreed during our live session was to position ourselves just right above the $74.45 level to capture that bullish move. And it was at this point we had our first buy position for the week, and we went on to ride that move all the way to the upside, adding more position as price action continued to break out levels such as the $75 area. We also had the breakout of the week's key level at the $75.25, and of course the $75.50 area, giving us quite a significant amount of profit, running to around the $200 mark, 200 pips area on this single move right here before the bearish momentum began. So it was quite a profitable first half of the week for us on the USOIL spot. Then yesterday's trading session, we acknowledged that despite the bearish momentum that brought price to the downside, we begin to see that as soon as price got into the week's key level, well, let's call it the key zone because it's an area actually between the $75.25 and of course the $75 area, we begin to see some buy pressure resume around that area. And for us, this is a clear sign that this might be a retest of structure and probably transition into a platform that will incite the second wave of the bullish momentum that started at the beginning of the week. And what we said here yesterday is that we are going to be buying the USOIL spot as long as price action remains above our key level. And one of the parameters we said we were going to be using to guide our trading activity was the breakout of the $75.50 levels. Though we saw price break out of this area a couple of times, in fact it was very tiring, as for over 4 to 5 hours price action was dilly-dallying around that area, giving us an insight into the level of indecision at that point. We were stopped out at one point. At one point in time, I had my stop loss hit there before price finally came back above the $75.50 level during the later part of the New York session yesterday, and since then we have been riding this move all the way to the upside. And right now we have two positions currently running in profit as we took advantage of it right at this place. We also added more positions at the breakout of the $76.05 level. So currently we have two positions running on the USOIL SPOT. Congrats to those who are taking advantage of this opportunity, as the first position is running with about 66 pips and the second position is running with about 11 pips in profit. So we have a total of approximately 70 pips running in profit on this one. And based on this current situation here, as we begin to see how buyers are losing that steam, as the last high we got to in this market is around the $76.80 level, and right now price action is caught within a range right below the previous high, giving us an insight into the level of indecision at this point. Will this turn out to be a reversal pattern that will push price to the downside, or is it going to turn out to be a trend continuation pattern that will incite an uptrend move? Well, it depends on how price reacts to the zone. So what I will be advising us to do right now is to ensure that we secure all these positions. And for this situation here, I will be suggesting that anywhere below the $75.85 area seems most appropriate to secure this position at this point. Of course, we do want to give enough room for price action to breed, probably in anticipation of another wave of bullish momentum. So with the positions well secured at this point in time, what is our next line of action for today? What are we looking at? Are we buying the USOIL SPOT today, or are we going to be getting ready to sell, considering profit-taking activities? That is likely going to be the order of the day. So looking at the structure here, one of the things we are going to be doing to guide our trading activity for today is to extend this ascending trend line, of course, as we're definitely going to be using it to guide the trading activity for today. So what this simply means is that as long as price action remains above the ascending trend line, we shall feel comfortable in our buy position, while we also look out for more opportunities to maximize the move to the upside. Then in addition to this level here is and the highest point price has been here in the last couple of days, in the last how many hours now? I think 6 hours, 7 hours, and that is the $76.40 level. So we want to mark this level out on our chart, as we will be needing it to guide an uptrend continuation in this particular market. So I will need a breakout retest of that zone to further confirm the strength of the buyers here to join another move to the upside. That is if price action breaks out and retest that structure. However, if price action goes on to break down the $76.05 level, then I want to be considering some selling opportunities here. But remember, we are not going to be jumping into a bearish move right away, as we will need confirmations to happen. Remember, we are still on a very strong ascending trend line, and of course it makes quite a whole lot of sense to hold on and see if truly buyers are losing that steam around that area. So if we do have a breakdown of the $76.05 level, in fact, we want to scale down into our lower time frame, such as the 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or even your 15 minutes time frame, to look out for confirmations that buyers are losing that steam. Remember, we are still on a very strong ascending trend line. Price could still respect the ascending trend line with a reversal pattern to incite another wave to the upside. So we want to be very careful of choosing our sell positions around this area. So what we are going to be looking at as soon as price breaks down the $76.05 level is to look out for signs that bullish momentum is waning in this market, and this would reflect on the chart as price continue our retest of the $76 $5 level, something like this. It could be a double bottom leading into a situation where price drops back below the ascending trend line, after which we are going to be looking out for selling opportunities in this particular market. Of course, I will be with you in the comment section of my Trading View and Telegram platform to give you updates on how we are going to be positioning ourselves for that move. So let's say structures mature. If indeed it's going to be a sell move today, this is what we are going to be looking out for. And trust me, I will be with you on the comment section to give updates in that regard. However, if price action remains above this level and going on to break out of the $76.40 area, then a retest of structure on our lower time frame should give us confirmations of joining an uptrend continuation. And if price action goes on to break out of the $76.80 level, which happens to be the highest point price action has been for this week, we definitely want to be adding more position to our existing trade. So this is how we are going to be managing our position on the USOIL SPOT for today. So if you have any questions regarding what I just discussed here, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions, and you can as well use that time to mark out these levels on your chart. All right, so in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are all on the same page here, so we shall be moving on to the next instrument on our watch list. So the next instrument on our watch list is the GBPUSD. So on the GBPUSD, it has been quite an interesting and profitable journey so far this week, as price action moves significantly well in our direction as we continue to sell this instrument throughout the course of the week. Now let's run through how the week started for us on the GBPUSD. And so at the beginning of the week, we acknowledge a couple of parameters here. I think we have about 3, which was guiding our trading activity. And one of them, it was the descending trend line we identified coming in from last week's trading session, of course, as we saw we connected a series of lower highs here to give us a trend line to work with. And in fact, we were saying here that as long as price remains below the descending trend line, we of course want to hold on to our bearish bias and look out for more opportunities on that one. And not only if price action breaks out of that descending trend line, we will now start considering buying the GBPUSD. Now, in addition to that one was the key level, of course, which was at the 1.3100 level, as you can see here. So we had a key level here for the week, which was what we agreed that we are going to be using as a yardstick to guide our trading activity. And as you all know in this community, as long as price remains below the key level, we of course want to be looking out for patterns and structures that will support the idea of selling. And if you look at this market structure closely on the 1 hour time frame, you will notice that most of the time this week, price action remained below the key level, giving us an insight into how strong the sellers are. And coupled with the negative data coming in from the UK economic docket, didn't help matters at all as price action continues to drop to the downside. Now, the final one we were able to note here is the range, of course, which we saw at the beginning of the week. Price was caught within this range here, giving us an insight into the level of indecision at the beginning of the week. And of course, this was a very good sign, good structure for us to guide our trading activity. And you know how we do it in this community. As soon as price action falls within a range, the next thing we want to be looking forward to is either a breakout of the resistance line to give us an opportunity to buy, or the breakdown of the support line to give us an opportunity to sell. And remember, at the beginning of the week, we had a buy position triggered here above the 1.3100 level, and unfortunately that position went into a loss for us. So we started the week on a loss as we saw price action drop back to hit our stop loss on that buy position. But that went on to trigger the sell stop order right below the structure as we saw some bearish momentum around that area before the bullish momentum began. So it was a worst case scenario of break even on that one. Then on Tuesday, of course, during the live session on Tuesday, we acknowledged a trend line, which we said we were going to be using to guide our trading activity for that day. And one of the things we agreed during the live session was that as long as price remains above that ascending trend line, we shall continue to look out for buying opportunity, and we are only going to be selling if a breakdown retest of that trend line happens. So we saw buy positions triggered. In fact, we saw the breakout of both the descending trend line here, and for the fact that price still remained above the ascending trend line, we had a buy position triggered. We had the first position here. We had the second position as price broke out of the 1.31, moved about, how many pips was that? From the first position here, it moved about 40 pips, and from the second position here, it moved about 25 pips thereabout before the bearish momentum began. And if you had moved your stop loss, like we always preach in this community, as soon as price action moves significantly well in your favor, the worst case scenario here will be at break even. Now, price action went on to break down, retest the ascending trend line to signal our second sell position for the week. And since that moment, we have been selling this instrument throughout the course of the week. We also added more positions at the breakdown of this range here at the 1.30700 level, and we continue to ride that move all the way to the downside, hitting the TP target for me personally at the 1.294. Then during the last couple of days, we had a situation here where price action was ranging between the 1.29600 level and of course the 1.28850 area to give us an insight into the level of indecision at this point in time. And one thing we normally do in this community when price action falls into this kind of range is for us to wait patiently for a signal to come, which of course would reflect on the chart as either a breakout of the resistance line or the breakdown of the support line to give us an opportunity to either buy or sell. And one of the things I discussed here yesterday about this current structure is the possibilities of this range to evolve into a reversal pattern or a downtrend continuation. And one of the parameters we said we were going to be using to guide our trading activity was this descending trend line that we identified here yesterday. So we agreed here yesterday that as long as price remains below this descending trend line, we will continue to sell and look out for more opportunity to maximize that bearish move to the downside. And in fact, throughout yesterday, price remained below the descending trend line, and we had a position here triggered, and then we also had another one triggered at the breakdown retest of the 1.28850 level, giving us about, let's see how many pips was that. The first move moved about 90 pips in our favor, while the second move moved about 45 pips in our favor, giving us roughly about 130 pips before this bullish momentum began. And if you had moved your stop loss accordingly, I did give updates on all my public platforms that we need to move our stop losses to secure the current sell position. And if you had done that, you would have been taken out with a modest size of profit. So congrats to everyone who has been part of this profitable journey. Now, going into the New York and London session today, what is going to be our plans? What are our expectations in this particular market? Are we going to continue selling the GBPUSD, or are we going to be seeing some profit-taking activity? That is, those who are taking advantage of buying the US dollar since the beginning of the week might likely want to be selling some of their position to take some profit from what they had made so far, and this could reflect on the chart as a bullish momentum. So this is just a speculation. This is what we might likely be saying today, but the structure will tell us what to do. Now, before we go into the details of what is really going on at this point in time, I would like us to talk about my commentary on the GBPUSD and what we said we were going to be doing as soon as price action within this current market structure. So for those who are already with me on my TradingView and Telegram platform, you will definitely have gotten this update, but let's run through this quickly. So this is how we have been managing our GBPUSD position since the beginning of this week, as you can see here. And this morning, where is this morning? This morning is 21:07. Okay, so this morning I said here that following the closure of all sell positions with a profit of approximately 100 pips, the price has broken out of our descending trend line. Remember that descending trend line, which has been guiding our bearish momentum since the beginning of the week, was finally broken out during the I think the early hours of today. Currently the price is consolidating within a range, and in this situation we will exercise patience and await signals, particularly a breakout of the range, to identify potential trading opportunities for today. So now going back into the live chat, this is what we are talking about here. So I would just try to zoom this in a little bit so that we can see things clearly. So during the early hours of today, we saw the breakout of the descending trend line, which is a sign that this trend line may no longer have the capacity to negate the bullish attempt anymore. But this is just, we are not jumping into conclusions yet. We might see it as, it might turn out to be a false breakout, but the structure will definitely tell us if it's a false breakout. And since then, we have seen a situation here where price action has been caught within a range between the 1.29050 level and of course the 1.28700 area, to emphasize the level of indecision at this point in time. And coupled with the data that came in from the pound, the UK economy this morning, which was quite impressive as regards to the consumer spending, I'm of the opinion that the pound of course should rise in that regard. Though we saw some insinuations like that this morning, we saw a bullish move, but as soon as price got into that 1.2950 level, we saw a sharp rejection of that zone. So what is really going on here? Well, the first thing we can say here is that there is an indecision in this market, and of course we know how we maximize opportunities when price action falls into this kind of range. We of course want to remain patient, waiting for either a breakout to happen to give us an opportunity to buy, or a breakdown to happen to give us an opportunity to sell. And with the breakdown of the support line which happened here, in fact it was a breakdown and retest of that structure, you must be in the position right now. So I had my sell stop triggered here, and currently price is running with about 12 pips in profit at this point in time, which for me, I'm still very doubtful of this bearish expectation. And you will be asking me, why am I doubtful of this bearish expectation? Well, the first one is we had a breakout of the descending trend line, which is a sign we want to look out for. And from a technical standpoint, when price action breaks out of a key structure just as it has done here, there is a chance that price could come back and retest the trend line, and then the appearance of reversal patterns like double bottom structures, head and shoulder patterns could incite a reversal move to the upside. So this is why I'm very doubtful about the the breakdown of that 1.287. Now, the other thing that also makes me doubtful about the situation is if you look at the lowest point price action has been for the week, it's exactly around the 1.28400 level. We saw that when price got into that range, we begin to see the resumption of buy pressure around this area, giving us signs that we might likely be seeing some profit-taking activities today, and this will probably incite a trend continuation to the upside. Now, look at the last candle here. We saw a sharp rejection of that zone. In fact, price was unable to even get close to the previous low here, and closing with a hammer looking candle, which of course from a technical standpoint is a candle that indicates the presence of buyers at this juncture in the market. So with this situation here, I'm of the opinion that we can call this area right now a temporary demand zone, at least in the meantime, if price action still remains above the structure. So I will call this a temporary demand zone for the time being. So let's mark this out on our charts. Unless price action breaks down the zone, it will still remain a demand zone for now. So let's mark this one out on our chart. I would like to give this a darker color. So let me give it a grayish. Okay, so we mark this level now as a demand zone that we are going to be using as a platform to guide a reversal move from this area. So as long if price remains above this area, there's a chance that price could climb up to the upside. So for those who are taking advantage of this breakdown of the 1.287, you definitely want to be moving your stop loss right now to your entry point to secure this position, so that if price action begins the reversal move, the worst case scenario you will have is going to be a break even. So now that we have this whole situation marked out at this point, how do we intend to position ourselves for today's trading session? So one of the things I will say here is that if this level or this zone here had the 1.284 fails to be broken, then we are going to have no other choice than to look out for reversal setups to join a bullish move to the upside. And considering the fact that today is the last trading day of the week, definitely majority will have been selling the pounds and buying the US dollar since the beginning of the week all the way to the downside. And considering that we are going into the weekend, some of them will be closing their positions, and there is a likelihood that we could have a bullish momentum here. So in that regard, this is how we are going to be positioning ourselves for today. So I want to be looking out for buying opportunity above the 1.28500 level, somewhere around here, and the 1.289. Let me readjust this one using my line chart here to capture. So I'm going to readjust this one and extend this out a little further to capture this whole length. And let's see what that will give us. I think it will give us 1.28950 seems most appropriate. So let's call it the 1.28950. Okay. And you will know the reason why that is in a moment. Just hold on a second. Let me mark this out correctly. So this is where our center of focus will be for today. So this is what I'm trying to say here. So now if we consider the multiple rejection of this zone here, we might likely be seeing a reversal pattern in the form of a double bottom structure. So let's take into consideration the bearish move that got us to this point. So if you look at the structure closely, you'll see price dropped here. Price came back into the 1.28950. And if this sharp rejection persists, that is, sellers find it difficult to break down, then this 1.28950 will be serving as a neckline of this double bottom structure, and a breakout retest of that level will definitely be the signal we are waiting for to join a bullish move to the upside on the GBPUSD for today. So we are going to be buying above the 1.2895, as that will confirm the reversal pattern. And in fact, I want to be part of that move even before the breakout happens. So I will be positioning myself above the 1.28850 level to see if we can find buy pressure around that area to join, and then if a breakout of the 1.28950 happens, we are going to be maximize the potential of this bullish move. So that is how we are going to be buying the GBP USD for today. Now the contrary here, just like we always do, to ensure that we also consider the potentials of the sellers here. So for me to sell at this point, I would want to see price break down that demand zone, sincerely speaking, then a retest of structure before I want to be joining a bearish move. So a takeout of this demand zone here will be what we are looking for to join a bearish continuation to the downside. So it's a simple setup we have here. Let's mark these levels out on our chart, and then we shall hope to capture any potential move from the structure. So these are my views here on the GBP USD. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds right now to read through the comment section and see if there are any questions, after which we will be moving on to the next instrument. So you can take this time to mark out those levels on your chart, as you will be needing them as a reference point to guide your trading activities for today. So I see your comment, Sintu7945. Good morning to you, Sintu. Glad to have you around. I saw your mail. I responded to your mail, but you are yet to respond to me. I still hope to hear from you, Sintu7945, from your mail. I need that. Very, very important. Please let me have it as soon as possible. Thank you very much. So I saw your comment here asking that we should try to identify TP targets on the markets, on the chart, on the chart. Well, I've said this countless of times in this session here, that in as much as I try not to be a financial advisor online, if you really do want to have this, you can talk to me one-on-one on my Telegram platform to talk about this. Right here, what we are doing here is to try to decipher where to buy and sell. Where your TP target will be, where your stop loss will be, is on your own discretion, and it depends on your portfolio size. So what I normally do here is to give you a zone, a range where you can enter, where you could place your stop losses, where you could place probably your TP target. And if you had watched my video on this instrument, you will see key levels where we can actually use as a TP target. Now, for instance, on the GBP USD, if you look at the structure closely and zoom out and see these patterns here, you will see levels that are duly identified on this chart. So you could have your TP target at any of these levels. For instance, we have one at the 1.293. We also have one at the 1.296 right here. And we also, if you go to as far back, you will see levels that were duly identified on this chart. And the same thing cuts across all the instruments on our watch list. So if you look at these levels, you can easily use them as a TP target zone for your positions. And one thing that most traders do struggle with is trying to be greedy, trying to capture as many posts. If you have your TP target, 100 pips is okay for you as a day trader, 150 pips is okay for you, even 50, 70 pips is okay for you as a day trader. So use the key levels I've identified as a TP target for you. That is simply what I will say here. And if you want something further or more precise, then you can contact me personally and talk about this one-on-one. Okay? I hope I answered your question, Sintu. If you need further clarifications, please feel free to let me know in the comment section. Thank you very much. So on that note, in the absence of no questions, I would want to move on to the next instrument for today. So the next instrument on our watch list for today is the XAUUSD, my favorite. And in fact, we have been selling the XAUUSD in the last 24 hours. It was quite a profitable XAUUSD live monitoring window yesterday. Remember, we have our XAUUSD live monitoring platform here on YouTube where we trade the XAUUSD live together and manage our positions live right here on the YouTube channel. So yesterday we had the situation where we saw our price action. I actually confirmed yesterday that price action has been a little bit choppy prior to yesterday's live session. And one of the parameters we said here that we were going to be using to guide our trading activity are two structures here. Now, one of them is the range where we saw our price action was caught within the 1,984 and of course the 1,979. So we had that range situated right there. Now, in addition to that range, we also had this the ascending trend line, of course, which was guiding that bullish momentum for 24 hours right there. And one thing we agreed during our live session yesterday is that we are going to be using this trend line coupled with that range to guide our trading activity for yesterday. So one of the things we said here is that if price remains above the ascending trend line, we of course want to feel comfortable in a buy position, and if price action breaks down the ascending trend line, then definitely we want to be getting ready to sell the XAUUSD. Now, with the structures marked out here, ascending trend line sharing a beautiful confluence with the 1,979, we had our breakdown of structure triggering our sell position. And for those who waited for a retest of structure, in fact, the market came to do just that, as we saw the retest, and price action since then has been dropping to the downside. And in fact, we were able to maximize the potential of this bearish move by adding more positions to levels that were broken to the downside, such as the 1,975 and of course the 1,967. So it has been quite a profitable journey for us all on the XAUUSD in the last 24 hours. And for those who took advantage of these opportunities, well done to you for being on standby to have caught that move. So right now, for those who still have a sell position running right now, that is for those who maximize on this move, well, I will be advising you to move your stop losses, secure this current position, and let's see how far price will go. Now, before we go into the details of what our expectation is going to be looking like today, let's run through my commentary on the TradingView platform, where we discussed on how to manage our current position on the XAUUSD. Now, going into the TradingView platform here this morning, this was my commentary here this morning. So I said after yesterday's profitable trading activities are currently confined to a range between the price levels of the 1,967 and the 1,972. The next course of action for today's hinges on how the price action responds to this crucial level. Our upcoming live session will delve into a detailed analysis of this. So if you look at the structure, I told us here that price action had been confined within the 1,972-ish and the 1,967-ish, as you can see here, waiting for either a breakout or breakdown of that range to give us an opportunity to trade. Now, look at what has happened here. Now, we finally saw a breakdown. So if you had your sell stop order below the $1,967.50 level, you will definitely have had a sell position triggered and will be currently running with about how many pips now? About 48 to 50 pips running at this point in time. So if you have a position, kindly move all stop losses to secure this position at break even, and let's see how far this momentum will go. So on the XAUUSD, we still remain very, very bearish in this particular market as long as price continue to find lower lows and lower highs. Now that we have a uniform lower highs in this market, we definitely want to be connecting it so that we can use this trend line as a yardstick to guide our trading activities for today. So after connecting the series of lower highs here, we have a beautiful trend line which of course we are going to be using to guide our trading activity for today. So what this simply means is that as long as price remains below the trend line, we feel comfortable in our sell positions, and of course look out for more opportunities to sell. And if price action breaches this trend line, then at this point we want to start considering buying the XAUUSD. Now there's still possibility that price could come back and do a retest of this structure. That is for those who had missed out on this breakdown of structure. So let's see if the market will come back, retest the structure, then we want to be joining or adding more position to our existing trade on the XAUUSD. However, if price breaks out of the trend line, then at this point it will be a clear sign that we are probably going to be witnessing a momentum shift. And what we are going to be looking out for as soon as the breakout happens is for us to scale down into our lower time frame, where we shall be looking out for patterns and structures confirming that sellers have lost the steam. And this would reflect on the chart as a retest of the structure, continued by pressure, then we could be part of a bullish move to the upside. But trust me, I will be with you in the comment section of both my TradingView and Telegram platforms to give you updates on what to be looking out for when price action gets into that area. So these are my views here on the XAUUSD for today. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions before we move on to the next instrument. All right, so in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we're on the same page, so we shall be moving right into the next instrument for today. And so the last instrument for today is the USDJPY, and on the USDJPY we have quite an interesting position here on this instrument, as we have been buying the USDJPY through the most part of the week. And before we go into the details here, I would like to first of all run through what our expectation was like at the beginning of the week. Now, at the beginning of the week, remember, we identified something that was looking like a reversal pattern after identifying the multiple rejection of the 137.500 on the higher time frame. And we were able to spot something like an inverse head and shoulder, as you can see here. And we were thinking that this will be respected immediately, where the breakout retest of the neckline situated at the 138.800 will welcome that opportunity for us to buy this instrument for the week. But that was not what really happened, though we finally saw the bullish momentum, but it didn't come in that chronological order. Instead, we saw the breakout happen first of all. That was on Monday, and that move did not last long. As you can see here, it moved about 60 pips before the bearish momentum began, taking us out of that position at a worst case scenario break even, depending on where you place your stop loss on that one. Then price action dropped down. On Tuesday, we had a trend line, hoping that thinking that price will continue to drop to the downside. So we had a trend line here to guide the bearish momentum. So we are looking forward to price remaining below the trend line to confirm the bearish momentum. And we also agreed that if price breaks out of the trend line, we definitely want to be looking out for buying opportunity, which of course happened a couple of hours into the New York session. So we saw the breakout, giving us opportunity to buy, and since that moment we have been buying the USDJPY, as you can see here. Now, during our live session yesterday, we acknowledged a zone right here. Hold on a second, let me zoom right in so that we can see things clear. So we acknowledge a zone right here, which we said will be our center of focus for yesterday's trading session, which was between the 139.500 and the 139.200 area. And you know how we do it. Whenever we have this kind of range, we want to wait for price to either break out of that range to the upside to give us an opportunity to buy, or price should break down the range to give us an opportunity to sell. Now, with the situation we have here, we saw the breakout of the 139.500 to trigger our buy position, the second phase of the bullish momentum right here. That was yesterday prior to the New York session. And remember, we had an ascending trend line which we said we are going to be using to guide our trading activity. And as long as price remains above that ascending trend line, we of course want to feel comfortable in our buy position. The market came back, retested the structure around the 140.00 level during the early hours of today. For those who are trading the Asian session, you would have seen this advantage here to capitalize on this bullish move. Until this moment, price action has been continuing to find higher highs. So it has been a tremendous bullish move on the USDJPY, and for those who have been part of this profitable journey, well done to you for being on standby to have caught this move. So right now, you definitely want to be moving your stop losses to secure your current buy position. And for me personally, the 141 area, just around that area, seems most appropriate to secure your buy position. Of course, we do want to give enough room for price action to breathe. So let's see how this move is going to continue for today. So at this point, for those who had missed out on this opportunity, the only thing I will say here is for us to remain patient for new structures to mature before we want to be jumping into any position at this point in time. So let's wait and see how price action will evolve in the next couple of hours. And of course, trust me, I'm going to be with you in the comment section of both my Telegram and TradingView platform to give you updates as at when due. So it's on this note I want to call it a day here. It has been a wonderful moment with you guys, a very interesting week for everyone in the house, as we were able to scoop in some significant amount of profit across the instruments on our watch list for this week. So well done everyone, and on this note I would want to call it a day and wishing you best of luck today. And I still look forward to seeing you in the comment section on my TradingView platform, of course, if you have any questions as regards to that. And of course, we are going to be having the XAUUSD live monitoring window coming on live 15 minutes before the New York session begins. I'm yet to have the link at this point in time, so I will be sharing them on my Telegram platform. And of course, if you are following me on my YouTube channel, you will definitely get a notification when the link is ready. So on this note, I wish you all best of luck today. It has been a wonderful moment. I wish you best of luck, and I also wish you a happy weekend. So I look forward to seeing you again same time next week. And of course, I will be sharing my perspective for the coming week on my YouTube channel, Telegram platform, and of course my TradingView platform during the course of the weekend. So I would implore that you watch them so that we can get ourselves prepared for the new week. So everyone, do have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye bye.